Just wait. Hold on a second. Pause. Let me just make sure. We got a connection chat. We got connection. We got YouTube up and running. How is everybody doing? The YouTube world and the Twitch world, we gotten you both together in one. This is not something that I was expecting to have done today, but guess what? We there. We doing it. YouTube and Twitch are now connected. Yo, what's happening, Jay? How you doing, man? What's good? Oh boy, so this has been a long time coming. I've been trying to get YouTube connected to Twitch for a long time. Chilling, my guy. I've been playing that Fortnite with the kid. Nice, man. Nice. You got to get in there, man. You guys winning rounds, I hope. Putting in the work. Obviously, you got to be taking some W's. Kid and I are killing it. Awesome. That is awesome, man. Yo, when you play those games and you got a co-op, a partner that's like good at the game too, and it just so happens to be, a close family member, it takes it to a whole nother tier. That gaming goes to a whole nother tier. Oh man. All right. Well, I'm glad everything's going well with you. First and foremost, 6 victories back to back. I said, all right, we done, we keeping going, we gonna, oh man, no. 6 victories back to back is sick. Yo, in Fortnite too? That's tough to do. That's almost unheard of, I feel like. Yo, keep it up. You know how that is. Oh yeah, of course I do, man. Fortnite's a tough game to be playing. I don't mess around with them Fortnite players. I know they're as the kids would say, they're sweaty. So, yo. Oh man. But yo, what so what I have going on, guy. I was sweating, my guy. Yo, man, you don't want to be the one sweating. That means you're trying too hard. You don't want to be doing that. Oh man. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. So this first part of the stream is actually going to be a short version. It's an abbreviated version just for editing purposes and making things easier for YouTube. Uh Haha, my kid was helping but not much carrying that way. Yo, usually it's the other way around. The kid's usually the one carrying you. That's the other way, yo. What? Oh man, that's funny. That is funny. So yeah, this first part of the stream is going to be a little bit abbreviated. We're going to do a introduction to politics, a little 101. And today we are talking about Congress and what Congress's job actually is and what they're supposed to be doing as far as representing us the people. Um let's see here. Oh, yeah, actually. Yeah. So, make sure if y'all don't already, make sure you hit that follow button and turn on those notifications. If you don't want to see any ads, you can do so. You can subscribe to support the stream first and foremost, but that would mean it also goes ad free when you subscribe. Um, you can do that with Twitch Prime for free. You get one of those a month from Amazon Prime. So if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can convert it over to a Twitch Prime account, and that would let you subscribe for free. You can also subscribe for $5.99 or be gifted subs through somebody in the community. You can even go Twitch Turbo, and that's $11.99. It lets you watch any stream without ads. Okay. And then last but not least, YouTube. Y'all can join the fun and subscribe as well. Make sure y'all join in, follow. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to be going over in the future. But these little teach outs that I'm doing, I'm hoping to make them be like 15 to 20 minutes long, and then we move on to like the actual gaming stuff. But like I said, this is going to be an abbreviated version of the stream. The gaming section will come up afterwards. I'm going to end stream for a moment and start it back up right after that. And at that point in time, I'm just going to ask y'all to sit tight, just hang tight with us, refresh the page, and we'll be in the gaming. All right. So, like I said, we're talking about politics today. Politics 101, and what Congress does and why it matters. So let me just make sure all of this is showing the correct screens. Hang on. Yeah. All right. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Awesome. YouTube, you got it. Here we are. So this is from thelegalguide.org. What Congress does and why it matters. Okay. Congress shapes the laws, funds the government, and conducts oversight that keeps the executive branch in check. It works its work affects taxes, national security, healthcare, education, and nearly every aspect of everyday life. This is why I say, guys, that politics literally affects everything. Everything you do, from the food you eat to the water you drink, the air you breathe, how your housing is structured, your health care, your education, everything. Okay. So it's super important that all of us have some form of understanding as to what politics is. So that way we can have some form of control as to what's happening in this political ocean. All right. Understanding Congress helps citizens assess policy proposals, follow the legislative process, and participate more effectively in democracy. How Congress makes laws. Man, it's about time for me to get some new glasses, not gonna lie. The primary function of Congress is lawmaking. Bills are introduced in either the Senate or the House of Representatives, except for revenue bills, which must originate in the House. Now, why is that, chat? That's because the House of Representatives controls the power of the purse. Okay? So this is key. This is why any revenue bills originate in the House. A typical path includes committee reviews, floor debate, amendments, and then a vote in both chambers. We're going to go over what all of this stuff means later on down the road. But today, we're just going to focus on what Congress does. If both chambers approve, the bill goes to the president and it will, to be signed into law or vetoed. A presidential veto can be overridden by 2/3 majority in both chambers. This process ensures the laws reflect the board consensus and are carefully crafted before becoming binding policy. Okay. Both of those, so like the Senate and the House of Representatives have to be on the same page on these bills. House of Representatives is going to create said bill. Actually, I have this might make it a little bit longer, but I do have another page I can pull up in a minute that gives you a more abbreviated version of this and gives you an idea as to what a bill is and how it moves through the lawmaking process. So, committees' roles. Most work happens in committees that specialize in topics like finance, foreign policy, or health. Committees draft language, hold hearings, and mark up bills. Bicameral structure. The Senate and the House have different constituencies and powers, balancing national and local interests. So that's why we have multiple branches. There is an argument, obviously, to remove the Senate because the Senate does not uh, live up to what this should be, But, those arguments are for later on down the road when we actually understand what these jobs are supposed to be. Public input, all right? Hearings, expert testimony, and lobbying inform lawmakers, broadening the policy debate beyond party lines. So that means that we, the public, have the ability to affect what types of bills or laws are implemented. Because in the end, they're supposed to be representing the people. Congress is the representative branch of government. Members are elected to reflect the diverse needs and opinions of their constituents. The House focuses on districts with shorter terms and more frequent elections, encouraging responsiveness to local interests. The Senate the Senate represents states, providing greater stability through longer term and staggered elections. This design aims to balance immediacy and representation with long term national considerations. Doesn't always happen that way because now, currently, what happens is bills go to the Senate to die. They don't actually pass. Constituent engagement matters, whether through town halls, emails, or calls to the office. Members of Congress weigh constituents' preferences, analyze expert advice, and consider national priorities when forming policy positions. Active citizen participation helps ensure the Congress remains accountable and attuned to evolving public needs. That's pretty important too, guys. I mean, all of this is pretty important, but at the end of the day, they're supposed to represent us. So if they are not a reflection of what the public needs are, then Congress is not doing its job correctly. Like, for instance, let's say the public says that we need some form of health care that takes care of everybody. All right. So that nobody dies because of some stupid health issue. Congress is supposed to go through, make a law that makes that happen. And then we use taxpayer funding to pay for said health care. But unfortunately, that's not what happens. Instead, everybody bickers and they're like, well, we can't, the insurance companies don't make enough off of this. Well, when you're representing the insurance companies, I guess you're no longer invested in the constituents of your state. So keep that in mind, people. Oversight, accountability, and checks on the executive. Oversight is a critical constitutional function. Congress monitors the executive branch to ensure laws are implemented and intended to detect waste or abuse and address national concerns. Tools include investigations, hearings, and the power of the purse to influence agencies' budgets. Oversight can Oversight helps prevent the concentration of power and reinforces accountability across the government. Significant oversight activities can drive administrative reform, shape policy enforcement, and inform public understanding of government actions. When Congress conducts investigations or holds hearings, it often brings new information to light, influencing both policy and public opinion. Mm, mm, mm. Budget and spending, fiscal policy. Congress holds the power of the purse, shaping federal spending and tax policy. The annual appropriations process determines how much money agencies receive to fund programs ranging from defense to education to public health. There it is, guys. There it is. I said it earlier. It affects everything from your education to your public health, which would be your food, water, air you breathe, the housing, and everything like that. They control it all. The budget resolution appropriations bill the budget resolution appropriations bills and authorizing legislation together establish fiscal priorities. Tax policy though sometimes shaped by separate legislation also intertwines with funding decisions in Congress. Mm-mm-mm. Physical choices affect economic growth, inflation, debt levels, and distribution of resources. Bipartisan budgeting can reduce volatility, while partisan gridlock may delay critical investments. Citizens can track how budget decisions align with stated policy goals such as job creation, innovation, or social services. We should be able to do that. I don't believe that is truly fully available at the moment. I believe that a lot of it has been restricted as far as like job creation. This is something that's been suppressed and lied about currently. So innovation, we don't really see much on that because when it comes to innovation, they're always talking about the stock market, and there isn't really anything that's tied to the stock market as far as like innovation and driving those numbers. So innovation isn't really a thing anymore. And then social services, well, they're cutting those budgets. So once again, a lot of this stuff right here we're paying taxes for, it's all just getting cut. And then the money is going elsewhere. So they're not helping us anymore. That money just gets rerouted elsewhere. You're still paying in taxes. It doesn't save you any money. They're just rerouting your money from these social services that are supposed to help you. And then they're using innovation as a reason as to why some of this stuff's happening, and that's not necessarily true. Committee systems and legislation process. Committees are the engine of Congress. They screen, amend, and refine proposals before they reach full chamber. Subcommittees specialize in areas like energy, health, or foreign affairs, enabling deep expertise. The committee chair sets agendas, negotiates with colleagues, and can specifically shape the fate of a bill. The legislation process often includes introduction and assignment to a committee, subcommittee hearings and markup sessions, full committee approval and referral to the floor debate, additional amendments and votes, conference committee, and reconcile House and Senate versions if needed. Okay, yeah. There's a lot that happens there. A bill goes, all right, you introduce a bill. Let's say it's not even like a committee type thing, but like you, a citizen, go to your representative, you introduce something that is going to be introduced as a bill. The representative, whether it be your governor or your higher up House of Representative, they introduce that on the floor there, right? Then the subcommittee has hearings. They mark up the bill that was originally put through the way you said it, and then they change it to better suit and work with how laws will affect and don't like they're not going to clash type deal. A full committee approval or referral to the floor. So they're supposed to then look at that and be like, okay, it goes to the Senate. The Senate does the approval, and then, sorry, full committee approval. So the committee now is going to take a look at it, right? And then they're going to refer it to the floor. The floor is where the Senate is. The floor is going to debate. They're going to make additional amendments, and then they're going to vote on it. And then it's going to go back to the House where they're going to vote on it, and then it goes back to the Senate for them to vote on it one last time. At that point in time, the bill goes to the president, then he signs it or vetoes, or she signs it and vetoes. Understanding committee activity helps explain why some issues advance quickly while others stall. It also highlights how party dynamics and constituent interests influence legislative outcomes. And that's key too, because if, let's say, for instance, you put it out a bill, right? And let's say your representative has been paid by a large corporation, let's say an oil company. We'll use that as an example. Let's say they're paid by an oil company. The oil company in this bill, it says it's going to restrict oil companies from dumping oil um, into like nature or protected areas, things of that nature. Well, the oil company is obviously not going to be happy about that. So what they'll do is then they tell the representative that they paid off, hey, I need you to make a loophole of some sort, or they write the bill that has the loophole in it. This bill then gets brought up in the same process up here that we talked about. It gets introduced again as a new bill, and then everybody looks at it, makes their marks up, and then they vote on it. If a majority gets it, it passes. So their interests, this isn't even the constituent interest necessarily. This could be whoever is paying your representative. And we don't want them to get paid by corporations, honestly. We don't want corporate PAC money in there, because if that's the case, that then they're no longer indebted to you for voting them in, they're indebted to the people who paid them. Checks and balances in practice. The Constitution assigns Congress a critical role in checks and balances. Lawmaking, oversight, and the power of the purse work in concert with the executive and judicial branches. For instance, lawmakers can confirm or reject presidential nominees, approve treaties, and respond to executive actions through legislation or oversight inquiries. In extreme cases, Congress can initiate impeachment proceedings for high crimes and misdemeanors, underscoring its responsibility to preserve the constitutional order. Once again, guys, this is not something that's happening right now. For high crimes. Because what is considered a high crime? Sorry, guys, I'm about to sneeze, I feel like. What is considered a high crime? Well, war crimes, right? Starvation, things of that nature, bombing hospitals, or shooting medical personnel, things of that nature, which currently Israel is engaged with, and we give them a lot of money. Not to mention, we bombed Iran. Iran didn't do anything wrong. And they say it's for them not having a nuke, but we're kicking in their door. So we are the aggressors. That is a high crime. That is a high crime, which means impeachment proceedings are in play, but nobody's actually brought them forward, which is a huge problem. That means that there is currently no checks and balances. This system aims to prevent rapid, unchecked policy shifts and ensure that the laws reflect diverse perspective across the nation. The balance among quick action in times of crisis and deliberate debate in normal circumstances is constant characteristic of American governance. How citizens can engage with Congress. We're almost done, chat. We're almost done. Oh shit. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There we go. Engagement strengthens democracy and informs congressional decision making. Citizens can connect with their representatives through contacting offices with questions or policy positions, participating in public hearings or submitting written testimony, supporting or opposing bills during the legislative process, following voting records, committee hearings, and floor debates. All right. I encourage everybody to get involved with that shit, because honestly, we all got to be involved with what's happening with all of our lives here, because the crazy people are flying the plane right now. And I don't want to crash into a mountain. Staying informed about committee assignments, upcoming hearings, and floor votes helps voters understand how congressional actions translate into policy outcomes. Tools like official government websites, nonpartisan policy analysis, and reputable news outlets provide reliable information on current legislative activity. Personally, I go to Dropsite News for my news. Ryan Grimm's really good. Shout out to Ryan Grimm. There's a bunch of others. I also go to Zeteo News to get a lot of my news. Shout out to Mehdi Hassan. And of course, I go to Twitch, Hassan Piker, because he covers all of the news stations from left to right and how they're portraying these activities. So I watched all of those, and shout out to Hassan Piker. But yeah, I suggest all y'all try to find some news sources out there that are independent and are actually going to help you stay informed about what's happening. Because a lot of those other sources out there, they'll lie to you, lie right into your face. Why this matters in everyday life. Congress shapes healthcare. Here we go. Congress shapes healthcare access, education funding, consumer protection infrastructure projects, and national security. Understanding how lawmaking, budgeting, and oversight work clarifies how policies reach communities, influence cause, and affect rights. While partner, while partnership partnership. While partnership can complicate progress, the core function of Congress, representing the public, crafting laws, and supervising the executive, remains central to the U.S. political system. Partnership, partnership is partisanship. Partisanship is when both parties are separate. No one's agreeing with what's happening in the law. So it complicates the process. It stops it from moving forward. It can stall bills from passing. Bipartisanship is when they're both together or there's a majority of the group together to form that law and write it together to get it to pass. So if you hear that word, guys, that's what that means. But that is the job of Congress. They're supposed to be working hand in hand to better the public safety, our living conditions, and everything like that. So when we look at things, and it seems like there isn't much as far as like the protections go, or our protections are dwindling, or a group of people are losing protections. Guys, way I always pointed out to you is if one group of people loses their protections, you lost those protections. All right. So it's important that we know what Congress does and how they are supposed to be out there helping us, protecting us, and things like that. Guys, that is going to be the end of the Politics 101 session. All right. Um, I am going to be getting into Pal World. Whoop, I left the Pal World part up there. I'm going to be getting into Pal World here in a little bit. Uh, so make sure y'all hang tight. If you want to see that, just stay for a little bit. Okay. So yeah, just stay for a little bit. We are getting that all situated. All right. Whoa, what the hell just happened? Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, chat. I will be back in just a minute. Peace.